Hello. Uh, I'm just going to share this with folks in hopes that maybe this reaches a younger person. Um, I know I don't have the largest following in the world, but um, if nothing else, I'm telling it to myself so I can rewatch it later. So, I'm 32 years old. The promise that was made to us when I was young, through high school, graduated high school in 2011, was that you work about 40 years, go to college, first off, work 40 years, and then you can retire. That is not true. So let's just stop it right there. That's not true. Um, First off, college is going to saddle you with debt, so then you're going to be a slave to your job if you're not incredibly intelligent how you handle college, which um, I'm a real dummy, but I lucked into doing it right? And I did have some good advice along the way. Um, and I listened to that advice, which most 18-year-olds, to my credit, do not listen to. I bought a house for $20,000 at 18 years old for money that I had saved up from working in high school. People who tell your kids, don't work in high school, worry about your grades. No, work. That's a better motivator than any grade you're going to make in high school. Work your butt off in high school. Work in fast food. That's what I did. It sucked. Guess who's never working in fast food ever again unless I have to and am starving? This guy. Okay? And this guy is going to find some other way out of it. Trust me, I'm going to find a way out of it. I ain't working in fast food again. Um, it's it's enlightening to now be at my age, which is still young by many standards, um, and be able to tell this is a lie. It's all a lie. Everybody gives you advice is a lie. Either that, I mean, they could be telling you this, and it might not be an outright malicious lie, but it's not true. Okay, and the people telling you these things are also people who are slaves to the system and broke. Unfortunately, here's some things I've found to be self-evident after actually observing those around me. Buy the cheapest house you can find, fix it up, make it nice, put your own work into it, pay it off as soon as you can. First step. Don't get second step. Well, they're not in any particular order, I guess, but don't get college debt, okay? And don't get consumer debt, and don't go buy a car on time. Buy the crappiest car you can find. Use your own two hands and fix it when it breaks. The same thing with your house. And then save money, cash money, and if you want a nicer car, buy it at that time, but don't buy it until you're, you know, I wouldn't buy a nice car until my house was paid off. I wouldn't do it. And guess what? I wouldn't live in a city, and I don't live in a city. I bought my first house for $20,000. I've bought some rental properties. I have never paid more than $64,000 for any real estate. Not once. And the house, my forever home, was $40,000 when I purchased it in 2017. And I fixed it up. Now I've put probably $40,000 in it. So I probably got 80 in it, but it was paid for, right? It's been paid for a long time. Um, I didn't put cash on the barrelhead for $40,000. I wish I would have. Wish I could have at the time, but I couldn't. And I had a little payment on it, and I paid it off in a matter of a year and a half, I think. And that's just what I did, and it worked. But anyway, Don't have a house payment. Don't have a car payment. Um, when you can afford a nicer house, buy it. When you can afford a nicer car, buy it. You need to invest your own money. And I'm not just saying in the stock market. You invest it in the market, fine, good, whatever, right? You need to have a business. Um, for me, it's in working with my hands, in doing things that I'm skilled at. It makes good money. Now, that's basically being self employed, but you do control, to some extent, what you're doing and who you're doing it for. Now, I do have a full time job, and that job is with the state. And they have a retirement plan, which has a defined benefit pension plan, as well as another option, which they call the hybrid option, the hybrid portion of this thing, which is part of it's defined benefit, the other part of it is you have to invest it in their target date portfolios, right? Which underperform the stock market every year probably. Um, and then I have a Roth IRA that I do, and that Roth IRA put in index funds outperforms their target date funds every time. So now the only reason I do their stuff is for the match. I max it out for the match. But it underperforms the market all the time. So you're putting a bunch of money into it and it's underperforming. I mean, it just is. But then they kind of control it. It's just not great. Okay. So, and then I looked at, they give you a little thing where you can go into their website and you can determine what, if you retire after 50 years of service and you're 67 years old or whatever, you'll get a measly $2,000 a month or something crazy, just something stupid, and you can't live on that. And I know Social Security ain't gonna be there, folks. I'm 32 years old. It ain't gonna be there. They've already raised the age to where probably be dead before I could even qualify for it, right? So that puts the pressure on, right? Puts the pressure on us folks. Our grandparents, they got to retire. My grandparents have been retired since 60. About 60 years old, they retired, done. When I was a little kid, they were retired. Like, the vast majority of my life, they've been retired. And that's great. That's, the American dream. They got to live it, right? They came of age in the 60s, the late 50s, early 60s, and rode that train all the way to retirement in the early 2000s. And, yeah, worked for them. Don't work for us, guys. Yeah, it ain't gonna work for us. So the retirement age for us, even before we can start pulling it, is 5 years older. And I guess you could retire early at 65. No, I don't plan on retiring and being dead 5 years later. That's just not an answer, guys. It's not an answer. Buy some real estate. That'd be my advice. Buy some real estate that cash flows. Buy some cash flow property. Start you a business. Do things that make sense. You have to make your own stream of income because these companies, they will fire you and it won't even be your fault. And your boss will throw you under the bus just to make themselves look good to their supervisors, and they may be an idiot. Chances are they probably are an idiot, and you're probably the one doing the work. It's a sad state of affairs. And the problem is if you're intelligent and you know what you're doing and you're doing a good job, that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything at all. Not to these companies. And they'll get rid of you as soon as it makes sense, or as soon as your supervisor can make it look like it makes sense. It won't even make sense, and they'll get rid of you. It's that messed up, guys. And It's that way in the public sector too. It's that way in the in government and government associated entities. So I refuse at this point in my life. I've got a paid off house. My vehicles are paid off. My little farm. I got my little goats and stuff like that. Chickens, goats, whatever. Grow me a little garden. Enjoy my life. All my equipment's paid off. My stuff's paid off. I got an emergency fund. Some might call it an FU fund. Got that. Check. So I'm going to say what I want to say. I'm going to say what I want to say. I'm going to do what I want to do. Within the law, obviously. I'll follow the law. But you come in here talking down to me, acting crazy, and professionally acting crazy. Coming in here saying that you're talking down to me when I've done all your work. Nah, I ain't putting up with it. Now, healthcare is my biggest concern. I'll make money, but the reason I work full time is for healthcare. And the way I've done it is live a frugal life and avoid payments at all costs. Work my butt off constantly in hopes that I will actually get to see a real retirement through my efforts outside of work, because if I just do the 9 to 5 for 40 years, I will never see it. And if I do see it, it'll be for 5 years. Then I'll be dead, if that long. No, that's not an answer. So get you some rental properties, get you your own portfolio going, start your own business. Forget about it. Just forget about it. You've got to do it. You have to do it if you want to retire in your lifetime, if you want to not be a slave in the system in your lifetime. If you're my age or younger, you have to. It's not an option. People used to, they say, oh yeah, you can do this and you can do that and you can retire. And you can't, not even in a state job. Can't do it. So it's depressing. But I will say, just go ahead, bite the bullet, start the business, start your investments. If you're 32 and just getting started, I'm telling you right now, you're behind the 8 ball. You should have been doing it since you were 18 years old. From the time I was 18 to now, that's been 14 years. I've managed to build a small portfolio. I'm just now to the point to where I can pretty much just tell my bosses to shove it if I want to. But it'd still be a headache to deal with, right? It's still like, well, now I got to figure out health insurance. Probably got to go to the Obamacare market and deal with that. Well, that's real annoying, you know what I mean? But aside from the annoyance factor and a little dip in pay I'd have to take for the amount of time I would get back and end up getting that payback because of the amount of time I have that I would receive back, that 40 hours a week I would get back in time, I could make up the amount of money pretty easily. But the health care offered by the government's pretty good. And it costs about $2,500 for a family plan on your own that's comparable. So it's real hard to give that up. But if I gave myself another 8 years or so, maybe not even that long, I could probably make that up pretty quickly. So 14 years it took me to get to the point to where it's a real inconvenient to get fired, but not a problem. Take another, let's just say 6 years to get to the point to where it wouldn't really faze me. So 20 years, and that's working your butt off for 20 years to get to the point to where it really doesn't faze you at all. And that's doing it the hard way. I mean, I'm not a genius. I have not invented anything crazy. I haven't done it. I haven't worked in high compensated jobs. I did really good in college, right? Like, I did okay in college, extremely well, but that doesn't mean anything. It just means I complied with what they wanted me to do in college, right? It doesn't make me any smarter than anybody. But the common sense would dictate your grandparents' advice, trash. Your parents' advice, who grew up in the 80s and 90s, trash. You've got to make it your own. You have to forge your own path, which is a good and a bad thing, because we're now back to the America that was before our grandparents, right? The generation that actually had to make it work, like for real, make it work. And I respect that generation, and I want to be like that generation. But the only way to be like that generation is to deal with what that generation dealt with. Now, they dealt with different things, like 2 world wars and the Great Depression and other things like that. So they dealt with things. We're dealing with things now too. But I think our generation is going to be, the millennials in particular, and below, is going to be the start of the decline. And that generation will have to deal with making it 100% on their own the farther we get down this. And that's okay. Because what happened is our grandparents and our parents screwed it up for us. Right? They screwed it up. The generation that I tell you is so great, the one that built it so that they could screw it up, I want to be the generation that built it. So I'm going to go build it. But anyway, something to think about.